Hello, my name is Callum. I have been developing this game called Legendary Loots for about 3 months, and everything in it is developed by me, the graphics, the code, the idea. And I'm just going to spend some time showing you just how far I've gotten, having to learn processing as well as what I've got to show for it, and then sort of discuss where I intend to take the idea once I've developed everything, basically. What you're seeing right now is the tutorial screen, um, just describing how the player moves about as this caravan. And it's also telling the player how battles work, basically. Locations like this, or even this cave, or this castle, they have situations in them, and I'll show you two for now. Um, You do have a maximum amount of moves that the player can move in one day. If you press space, you can camp. You get this nice little cutscene. This is a string that's randomly generated. That's just for flavor, really. And that will just reset your maximum amount of moves, which for now is 2, but will go up after the tutorial. And helps the game reset all of its variables, basically. So that there is the transition into a character dialogue screen, and this is much of how the game is played. You go to different locations, you encounter different people, and you navigate conversations with these conversation items. There are 4 types, but only 3 can be displayed on the screen at once, just for simplification. These values determine your success in using any of these options, and they are out of 6. So this top option is persuasion. That's currently a 1 out of 6. Chances are if we use that, he's not going to believe us. This one is bartering. That's 6 out of 6. So chances are if we try to barter with him and just say, can I hire you for any amount of gold, he's going to bite it. He's going to go, yeah, okay, why not? And this one is the logic option, which is different from persuasion in that within dialogue trees like this, you can use it to just get more information about any sort of quest that the character is giving you, or any opportunities that may arise. Let's try using persuasion. We know that's going to be 1 out of 6, so chances are he's not going to bite. And he didn't. So you can tell that because his speech has changed and his mood has dropped. If his mood drops one more time, he'll get angry and kick us out of the conversation, in which case we'll have to camp for the night and re-enter, with a fresh mind and try again, basically. I'm going to go ahead and barter with him. We know it's definitely going to work because it's 6 out of 6. And yeah, he's believing it. He's given us a deal, 100 gold to hire his services. We have 100 gold, but we will run out if we do it. We'll do it anyway. And that's that. With our first merc hired, we unlock the merc list. And we can see all of his stats, his image, his name, his current HP, and his eye for loot, which is a value that determines how successful he is in finding rare loot after every encounter. I'll show you an encounter, which is coming up now, but first I'm going to have to camp to reset my moves and enter the location with our new merc. One thing I didn't mention, in fact, is all of these situations, like the merc you just saw earlier and this bandit here, is randomly generated. We have this image here, which is chosen out 1 out of 4 characters for any given role. For situations like this, going to a bandit camp, you're going to encounter bandits, and there are 4 character images that the game can choose from. In the game in total, I think there's about 16 different types of character. Which I mean, I don't know. I can't do the math off the top of my head, but there's going to be quite a few characters in the final product, so it will help lend to the diversity of the game. Here we have the name, which is also randomly generated. That is also gender dependent. I think there's a list of about 60 names right now, and yeah, that just depends on the gender of the character being shown. The other thing is the background image. Right now, you can't see it behind the UI. Well, you can see it for a brief moment there. And each kind of location, you have bandit camps, caves, cities, tents, forests. Each kind of location has 1 of 2 different images to pick from. That just also lends to the diversity of the game. With our first merc, we can send him in to fight, and for now, we just watch the characters fight each other. They do different amounts of damage, that's entirely random. Although, later in the game, I do intend on improving the interactivity of this screen. I do have a few ideas for that. This is the looting screen, and loot is randomly generated as well. There are 80 different loot assets for the game to choose from. That's a lot. I think there's, off the top of my head, I want to say 16 types of items, and each type of item has 5 images. I'm not sure if the math is correct, but the 5 images cover the different qualities of the item. So you have broken items. This isn't a broken item. You have normal items. This is a normal item. We can tell because there isn't any prefix to the item description. You also have enhanced, unique, and legendary items, and that is the order of rarity. Legendary being the rarest. So we have our item type here, which is a hat of poison. This is a enchantment. It describes the enchantment that the item has, and different types of customer or job role will prefer different kinds of items and different kinds of enchantments. I'll get into that later. We can also see that the item is cursed, and that is a random chance as well. I think it's a 1 in 4 chance. And if an item is cursed, you might have trouble selling it to people within cities, but there will be characters who don't mind buying illegal items. But if you get caught trying to smuggle illegal items into a city, you will face a fine. So we'll drag that into our inventory for now and go on with the game. Let's camp. You can now see that we've got 6 total moves. That's because the tutorial's over. And as we cross this tree bridge, we encounter another bandit. The flight option you saw there, you have the option to fight or flight, but flight works if you have a number of items to sacrifice. That's the penalty. We only have 1 item and we kind of need it. So I'm not going to flight. I'm going to go straight in on a fight. And our next random generated item is just a normal circlet. There's nothing special about it. It's not broken, which is good, but there's no enchantment and it's not cursed. Moving on, we can move into this cave here, which does have a different encounter. But in the interest of time, we'll move straight up to this tent and we'll see who's there. Now, this encounter is an alchemist, in fact, and her name is Selena. And I think this is a good example of one of the more in-depth dialogue branches that you can have with a character. We have 3 options. We can ask her what she's doing here. You've mentioned somewhere called Kiransworth, which you mentioned here. We can ask her about that, or we can just ask her how her travels have been so far. I'm going to go ahead and ask her how her travels have been. This is an example of a wayfaring dialogue option, but it is 1 out of 6. So if we choose it, the chances are she's not going to want to talk to us about it, but there's still a minute chance she will, so let's give it a shot. And it appears she has, so we have defied the odds, which is always good. So now she's giving us information about a location, an old sword in a stone to the northeast. And that location will now be revealed on our map. We can go visit it. And she's also talking about what's there. There have been ghosts, which she mentioned earlier. And she's developing, or brewing, as alchemists do, a spectral potion to help adventurers talk it out with them. We have 2 more options. We can ask her about Kiransworth again, or we can ask her about the potion she's just mentioned. Tell me about that potion you're making. And she'll tell us that she doesn't have the equipment for it because it got stolen by a thief, and sets us a deal. If we can give her an item that alchemists like, then she'll give us a copy of the potion for free. And now we have 2 more options. We can ask to just buy the potion from her, but that's 1 out of 6. Nah, she's not biting. Her mood has dropped, and she doesn't want to go ahead with that deal. So we have to head back to the conversation. And we have a 6 out of 6 on our logic check, which is good. We can ask her what kind of equipment in particular she needs, and she's willing to play ball. She tells us she wants some brand new gloves, a hat, and anything with a flavoursome enchantment. There is an enchantment called of flavour. So, for example, I mean, no, they're both of poison, but you can get, you know, a hat of flavour. And if you try and sell that to an alchemist, they might want to buy it. Now, we've gotten lucky with our loot generations because alchemists like hats, as she's mentioned. We have a hat here. And we have a circlet, which we know alchemists like because she's wearing one. And this is a good example of how I've tried to hint at what job roles like in terms of loot through character design. She's wearing a circlet, so we can assume that she likes the circlet. In fact, it's the exact same circlet. But she's also wearing gloves. We can tell she likes gloves that way. Alchemists also like hats, as she's mentioned here. And they do like one other thing, which escapes me for now. Maybe I'll leave that up to players to find out if they play the game themselves. One more thing, I'll quickly try, this is also another unfinished feature, but if I click back to map, we should find that the location resets itself and we might see a different character with a different name. Let's try it. Oh, here we are. Yep. We've got an example of a male alchemist this time, and his name is Rion. And that is an example of random generation. So yeah, there you go. Thank you for watching, and well, yeah, thank you.